What's going on, guys? I am really excited. Today, we're gonna do a review on one of my favorite female characters in Marvel, in all of Marvel, Psylocke, the ninja mutant ex-assassin. She is the sexiest and the coolest ninja in comic book history, and I've been a fan since I was a kid. But we're just gonna do a little review. We're gonna watch a video from Comic Explain. Go over to Rob's channel and subscribe, and tell him I sent you. And please, most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Help me grow as well. With all that, let's get into the video and let's enjoy Psylocke. Let's go. Psylocke, baby. It's time for some Psylocke.
So while she's better known for her role as part of the X-Men team, Psylocke made her first appearance as the twin sister of Brian Braddock in Captain Britain comics as part of Marvel UK. To sidetrack here, as it was originally founded in 1972, Marvel UK was formed as a publication that reprinted American comics for British readers, and did not actually begin producing original material until 1976, when the company released Captain Britain Weekly, written by Chris Claremont and drawn by artist Herb Trimpe. While the comic was originally released on a weekly basis, in an effort to boost sales and maintain the cohesive universe, Captain Britain was crossed over into Marvel UK's reprinted version of Spider-Man in 1977, leading to massive success attributed largely to Marvel's most popular heroes, allowing for exposure to the Captain Britain character. Because Claremont's writing style focused on expanding the characters while maintaining strong storytelling, in issue number 8 as it was released in December of 1976, Betsy Braddock debuted as the twin sister of Brian. Now, something to take note of was that at this point in time, like most everyone else, Betsy did not know of her brother's identity as Captain Britain, but her introduction came by way of the fact that her older brother Jamie Braddock had been involved in a car crash under mysterious circumstances. As she explains to Brian, Jamie had been driving his Formula One race car along the track behind the Braddock mansion when it suddenly spun out of control due to unknown means. As a result, Betsy was forced to watch as the car collided with a line of trees and exploded. While Betsy was able to smother the flames, the situation got out of control, leading her to turn to Brian in an effort to discover why the crash had occurred and how to save Jamie's life. To this end, Claremont began fleshing out the early aspects of Psylocke's character by establishing that she was an accomplished charter pilot and that she was able to bring Brian back to their mansion by plane, as well as her latent psychic powers by having the plane psychically attacked by Dr. Sign. Tormented by visions of monsters put into her head by Sign, Betsy crashed and Brian transformed into Captain Britain, doing battle with Sign himself while trying to avoid his mind control powers. And so after a skirmish where Captain Britain is able to break free of Sign's control on him and wakes up as Brian Braddock at the mansion with his brother Jamie, who appears to be absolutely fine, Psylocke's latent abilities come into play when Sign returned later that night, taking over the mind of Psylocke and forcing her to hallucinate the same monsters from her time on the plane, not realizing that she's actually seeing her family. Now, where the story would see its conclusion in the defeat of Dr. Sign, as a character Claremont created with the intention of being an ongoing part of the Captain Britain title, Psylocke's revelation of Brian Braddock being Captain Britain served to allow her to operate behind the scenes as a kind of sidekick to his character, giving Claremont the potential for future development. However, while Captain Britain was fairly popular with audiences, because his editor had an entirely different idea of what the story should be, which conflicted with Claremont's views of both the character and the world of Marvel, Claremont vacated his position as writer 10 issues in. Following this, after realizing the success that came with Marvel's first line-wide crossover in the form of Contest of Champions, as well as smaller crossovers in various titles, the decision was made to eliminate the Captain Britain series, folding his character and supporting characters over into the larger Marvel landscape, where Captain Britain himself experienced a revolving door in the sense that he was thrown into the anthology series Marvel Superheroes and Daredevils under the control of Alan Moore and Alan Davis with stories like The Crooked World and Mad Jim Jaspers. In terms of Psylocke, her first major changes began to occur in the form of abandoning her career as a charter pilot, becoming a model, and dyeing her hair purple. Furthermore, because Claremont's time as writer was so short, the explanation of Psylocke's psychic abilities was left ambiguous, leaving future writers to flesh these concepts out. As a result, within the stories of Captain Britain, while Brian was away at college, Psylocke's psychic talents were noticed by the Psi Division of Strike, Britain's version of S.H.I.E.L.D., and existed as the Special Tactical Reserve for international key emergencies, focusing on crimes and missions that went above and beyond the capabilities of local law enforcement and the MI5. Working alongside some of Marvel's most powerful telepaths and employed for the purpose of helping with the missions in a way the Strike's normal members couldn't, Psylocke's recruitment came by way of a man named Agent Matthew, who was in charge of seeking out telepaths for the organization.
Whoa.
Taking place in the Daredevil's line of comics written by Alan Moore and art from Alan Davis, during her time on the team, Psylocke began a love affair with fellow psychic and Strike member Tom Lennox, who possessed both telepathic and telekinetic abilities. Using this as a means to expand her powers, Moore and Davis depicted the conversations between Lennox and Psylocke taking place telepathically, allowing for a fast tracking of her capabilities without the need for a full-on explanation of what she was able to do. Now, because these stories took place within the pages of Daredevils, with the series being cancelled and all the characters and events transitioned in the mighty world of Marvel alongside more popular heroes, Alan Moore and Alan Davis' story of Mad Jim Jaspers was literally stretched across 3 different titles, but continued to see a rise in popularity for the Captain Britain character as he faced off against one of Marvel's most powerful villains. However, because Betsy existed as a supporting character whose popularity was beginning to rival that of her brother, owing to her telepathic powers and the idea that she herself was capable of far more than what she seemed, as the creator of Betsy and the current writer for New Mutants, Chris Claremont began the process of rolling her over into the X-Men universe, beginning with New Mutants Annual No. 2 in 1986. Coming out of a 2-part story in Captain Britain Volume 2, issues 12 and 13, which saw Betsy's eyes gouged out during a battle with the villain Slaymaster, after taking to Switzerland to recuperate and foregoing the use of bionic eyes, using her telepathic abilities to allow herself to see, her recovery is short-lived when she's kidnapped by Mojo, the ruler of the extra-dimensional Mojoverse, which serves to provide its inhabitants entertainment by way of gladiator-like television programs. Brainwashing Betsy and giving her cybernetic eyes as well as a future code named Psylocke, Mojo uses her along with other brainwashed mutants for a television show called Wild Ways, where Betsy and the rest of the group are saved by Psylocke and Cypher, 2 of the New Mutants. Betsy's taken to the X-Men mansion to recover, coinciding with the launch of the Mutant Massacre as Marvel's first crossover between the X-Men related titles, while the main story itself focused on Sinister's marauders killing the Morlocks within the sewers of New York. While she wasn't technically a member of the team, Psylocke was able to prove herself capable by saving the other mutants in the mansion's infirmary when the marauders, led by Sabretooth, infiltrated the mansion. Distracting Sabretooth and leading him away from the other ailing patients, which included Nightcrawler, Colossus, and Kitty Pryde, Betsy's battle with Sabretooth was entirely one-sided until Wolverine and Storm appeared, allowing Psylocke the opportunity to look into Sabretooth's mind, learn his connection to Mr. Sinister, and grant Wolverine a momentary distraction, resulting in Sabretooth's defeat. As a result, Claremont used the conclusion of the storyline as a means to officially induct Psylocke into the team, under the auspices that her ability to telepathically distract Sabretooth served as a catalyst to not only allow the X-Men victory, but showed them the hidden hand behind the Mutant Massacre. Now, going forward into the main Uncanny X-Men series as it was written by Claremont, Psylocke became an extremely valuable member of the team, aiding in battles against villains like the Brood, Abomination, the Orphan Maker, and the Savage Land Mutates. However, at this point in time, while Psylocke had respectable psychic powers, which included telepathy, mind control, astral projection, and the ability to speak to other people's minds across long distances, she had no real physical fighting skills, and in fact, during a battle against a villain called Adversary, whose sole purpose in life is to bring chaos and destruction to the universe through the use of magic, Betsy herself is actually killed. Taking place as part of the Fall of Mutants storyline in Uncanny X-Men issues 225 through 227, from January to March of 1988, where the story's conclusion saw the world assuming the X-Men had died, leading to Nightcrawler and Kitty Pryde helping to form Britain's superhero team Excalibur. In truth, the X-Men had been allowed passage to the Siege Perilous, a device that allows for those that pass through it to begin their lives anew without any knowledge of their past experiences. Initiated by Claremont as a soft reboot in an effort to wipe away her convoluted history and create a wholly new character, with Uncanny X-Men issue number 256 in 1989, Psylocke woke up on an island in Asia where she was found by the Hand, a group of ninjas focusing on sorcery with ties to Hydra, during which time she was taken to their leader Matsuo, who swapped her mind with his lover Quanon, who was brain dead under the belief that Psylocke's telepathy would save Quanon, leading into the revelation that Betsy had been split into 2 beings, both of whom had been mentally fused in such a way that they both share the same memories but each retain half of Psylocke's psychic powers. Because she maintained amnesia following her trip through the Siege Perilous, the new Psylocke became an assassin of the Hand, operating under the mantle of Lady Mandarin. At the same time, the body swap of Psylocke allowed Claremont to introduce a whole new set of abilities, including martial arts and the ability to use her telepathy to create psychic weapons, most notably her trademark psychic dagger, which was described as the focused totality of her telepathic powers. However, because the transition needed to end with Psylocke returning to the X-Men team or else being killed off due to fan demand and a general sense of continuity, in Uncanny X-Men issues 270 through 272, Psylocke was pit in a battle against Wolverine, during which time her telepathic dagger penetrated Logan's body, granting Psylocke the revelation that she was not an assassin after all, but an X-Man, after which she rejected the role of Lady Mandarin. Following this, and with Chris Claremont leaving the X-Men series in 1991 due to disagreements with artist Jim Lee and editor Bob Harris, the scriptwriting duties changed hands several times, with John Byrne taking over for issues 281 through 286, and Scott Lobdell taking over after that. At the same time, while the launch of X-Men Volume 2 saw the team split into two groups, with Gold Team functioning in Uncanny X-Men, and the Blue Team serving as part of X-Men Volume 2, Psylocke became part of the Blue Team, where she attempted to form a romantic relationship with Cyclops, something that earned her the ire of the other members of the team.
I'm tired of Cyclops getting all those sexy
because the body-swapping storyline had been left unresolved prior to Claremont's departure, in an effort to wrap up loose ends, Scott Lobdell instituted a full-scale battle between Psylocke and Jean Grey, leading to the return of Psylocke's other half, who was inducted onto the team. Keeping the unofficial Psylocke around long enough to contract the legacy virus, which existed as a plague killing virtually every mutant that contracted it, the unofficial Psylocke was killed off, leaving Betsy as the one true Psylocke, losing the memories of Quanon, restoring the full might of her powers, and eliminating the confusing concept of two characters. As a result, Psylocke's romantic interest in Cyclops was dropped, and instead replaced with a romantic relationship with Warren Worthington. Now, where this time period saw Marvel vacating all of the existing X-Men titles for 6 months during the Age of Apocalypse storyline, following the event's conclusion and the return of the Marvel Universe's continuity, over the next several years leading into 2005, Psylocke's time on the team saw her going against Shadow King during the Crimson Dawn story arc, swapping powers with Jean Grey during Revolution, as well as dying and being resurrected during Claremont's time on Extreme X-Men, which existed as Marvel's attempt to update the team for modern readers. That said, if you recall my various discussions on Joe Quesada's time as editor-in-chief, we had talked about how his view of Marvel was that the stories contained within had begun moving away from previous lighthearted entries in favor of darker stories, some of which alienated readers who weren't looking for down and gritty events. Instituting massive retcons and complete upheavals, during Marvel's House of M series in 2005, which saw Scarlet Witch warping reality and providing all of Earth's heroes with the lives they wanted, because of her intense telepathic powers, Psylocke, alongside Rachel Summers, the daughter of Jean and Cyclops from the Days of Future Past, were pulled into the White Hot Room of the Phoenix, where they remained immune to the effects of Scarlet Witch's influence. However, this immunity was short-lived in that following the arrival of Jamie Braddock, who had been driven insane by events within his own storylines, his powers of minor reality warping were enough to force Psylocke and Rachel into the House of M continuity, where they, alongside the rest of Marvel's lineup, launched an attack against Scarlet Witch and forced her to return reality to the way it was. Now, while the post-House of M landscape would see 98% of the mutant population losing their powers, whether it was due to Psylocke being a fan favorite or something else, for reasons I don't know, Psylocke's powers remained intact, and she was removed from the X-Men team, and instead rolled over into the Exiles under Chris Claremont, existing as a team similar to the all-new, all-different Ultimates in that the Exiles functioned to correct anomalies in the multiverse. While the group did consist of various characters from other realities, Psylocke's introduction actually came at the tail end of the title's lifespan, in that it was cancelled with issue number 100 in 2008. Jumping to the launch of Uncanny X-Force in 2010 as a Black Ops team founded by Wolverine and operating without anyone's knowledge, writer Rick Remender brought Psylocke on board to fight alongside Wolverine, as well as Deadpool and Phantom X, an artificial being created as a 13th iteration of the Weapons Plus program. Where Remender's run received universal acclaim owing to the fare of storytelling, including the death of the Reborn Apocalypse and the Dark Angel storyline, which focus on the aftermath and Warren Worthington playing a role as Apocalypse, the popularity of Uncanny X-Force led into Psylocke's first solo miniseries in 2010, written by Christopher Yost. Centering on Psylocke traveling to Japan in order to bury her former body, the story saw her seeking out Matsuo Suyuraba, the man who had swapped her original body with Quanon's in the first place. As she proceeds with her mission to find and kill Matsuo, however,
Ooh,
she
Matsuo is a
discovers that
mess.
she has been set up and that Matsuo had baited her into pursuing him in the hopes that she would kill him and end the torture he endures from her fellow X-Men member Wolverine, who blames
Looks
Matsuo for
really
poisoning
messed
a
up,
woman that
bro.
he loved named Moriko. Leading into a battle between Psylocke and Wolverine due to her moral objection to this torture. At its conclusion, the story saw Wolverine acquiescing, allowing Psylocke to kill Matsuo and end his suffering. Now, following the conclusion of this miniseries, between 2013 and 2015 as part of Marvel Now and All New Marvel Now, leading into Secret Wars, Psylocke largely remained a background character with the exception of her role in X-Men Volume 4 under writer Brian Wood and X-Force Volume 4 under writer Simon Spurrier, where she was paired with Storm, Rogue, Rachel Grey, Jubilee, and Kitty Pryde in X-Men, and Cable, Phantom X, Marrow, Dr. Nemesis, and Eva in X-Force. While these stories were well received due to their writing and storytelling, because the events of Secret Wars was on the horizon with Hickman's run of Avengers and New Avengers, both X-Men and X-Force were cancelled in April and June of 2015, going into Secret Wars proper. Now, in terms of the all-new, all-different Marvel landscape, while Uncanny X-Men was relaunched as a continuation of Volume 4, in truth, the new series actually came out of writer Cullen Bunn's Magneto solo series. Focusing on Eric bringing together Psylocke, Archangel, Monet St. Croix, Mystique, Phantom X, and Sabretooth in an effort to bring about Xavier's dream, the team was designed to have questionable moral codes,
Sabretooth is a good
imposing
guy.
their will on mutants whether they wanted it or not. To this end, while we're only
Yeah,
7
that's
issues in,
crazy.
the existing issues largely focus on the
I
continuation
can't see
of X-Men
Sabretooth
Volume
as a good
4's
guy.
Dark Angel saga
Man's a
combined with
psycho.
Apocalypse Wars,
Serial
emphasizing the
killer.
idea of Warren Worthington taking on an Apocalypse form and his inner struggle with both the dark and light personas. Again, while the idea is still being fleshed out, we still don't have a solid understanding of what direction the full expanse of the story will take. But at the moment, Psylocke appears to largely maintain her role as a hero, with occasional dips into moral ambiguity and an occasional love for killing. With that being said, we're going to bring this video to an end, and let me know, I'm curious, let me know how you guys felt about Psylocke in the X-Men Apocalypse movie. And I will catch you guys later. Peace.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. That will do it for our coverage on Psylocke. I to be honest with you, I wanted a little more.
So with Cassandra Nova appearing in
Sorry about that. I wanted a little more, but that's what we're getting. That's all we got from Comic Explain. If you have any knowledge on the character that you want to share, please put it down below. I'd be happy to hear from you. Cause like when it comes to Psylocke, I'm all ears. I love learning about her lore. Um, I would like to know what happened to her ex boyfriend Matsuo. What the hell happened to him? He's a mess. He looks terrible. Um, he looked like he's been through a lot. And I know that Psylocke is whole now. She got her body back. The Japanese Psylocke is herself now, and the British Psylocke is herself now. So they fixed that character. I know about that. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.